Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa. Sorry, I'm just getting my screen sorted here because we seem to have some glitches in the back room. But happy to be here. So, welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa, everybody, and it's Amazing Tuesday with Alice Pirola again, and we're taking a deep dive into depression today. I think it's such a valuable topic because this is a topic that is so widely discussed. It is so widely affected, right? So many people are affected by it. I think there are so many different types of depression that a lot of people probably don't even realize that they're in depression because depression has so many faces. So, Alice, I'm very happy to have you back again. And before we get into our show today, how are you?
Doing great. I was telling you earlier, my husband Joe is going up to New York to visit his mom for 5 days. So I will be a free woman. Joking.
You better get your party out, girl. While the cat's away, the mice they shall play.
Oh my goodness. And then have you seen, I don't know if you've seen all the flooding, horrible flooding in Manhattan. We're talking up above the cars.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, flooding throughout
There's a
Manhattan.
lot of these weather conditions at the moment all over are so extreme. Um,
Absolutely.
I saw the other day, and I mentioned it on one of my other shows as well. In Spain, I mean, I was seeing vehicles in Spain being washed down the road and literally people sitting on the top of their car roof holding on. But then there was someone in the comments section who said they had heard of nothing like that in Spain. So I don't know if we are just getting psyops as well. It's
Oh,
very possible, I guess. But we're looking at, and I know Australia is being warned with fires and all sorts of things at this point in time as well.
really?
So,
Australia's having fires?
well, they're being warned.
Hmm.
That's the last I heard. They're being warned, and it's just crazy. It's just crazy, crazy, crazy.
Oh, it's
So
crazy.
yeah, yeah. Let's hope everyone is okay, and just praying that everyone is okay as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's anyone in the chat actually who knows anything about that, the weather conditions, that who's actually there, maybe in a place that is being affected or knows for sure what's happening. It's very interesting because, of course, we know this new nonsense is on the way. Um,
I
but
don't see it changing, Shanti. I mean, it's just been thing after thing after thing, just really hitting us hard. So,
we really are under siege right now. And there's no denying that. Just spiritually, you're talking to people who literally work in the spiritual realms,
mhm,
and I mean, there's a lot of good as well. Let's never forget that. There's a lot of,
mhm.
we're always talking about balance anyway, right? Equal
Right.
opposites. There's a lot of good happening at the same time. And, if anything, these tragedies are waking people up um,
More
to
than
what's
ever. More than ever.
if we're seeing, like, let's just look at Maui, Oprah and The Rock, right? I mean, they were under serious fire after that. And I noticed as well for a few months now, there's a lot of negative publicity out about Oprah as well. And I see The Rock, there's also a lot of stuff out on him at the moment. So there's a lot of people that are knowing what's going on and actually looking at what's going on. My God, if I just can just get my hair to be decent.
You want me to
Stop.
come over there and help you? Oh my goodness. As for Oprah, The Rock, all of them, the whole kit and caboodle, now they're trying to say that they're going to bring Gavin Newsom in as vice president and take out Kamala, and that if anything happens, he will then be president. Gavin Newsom. So let's all just look at the state of California. and what has happened to it. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if you see videos or.
Yeah, I see a lot of stuff. I mean, I must say I do a lot of I look at a lot of the American stuff as well, because I know that even though it's intensified in America at the moment, probably more so than other parts of the world. But if it's happening there, rest assured it's going to be happening, yeah, and it's
Oh
going to
my
be like
goodness.
wildfire.
They're just doing whatever
Already,
they
it's already
want.
happened. It's
Yeah.
just not as over the top as what, America is, because really when we're looking at these kids, the youth, this transgenderism, it's shocking. And I
Right.
think, if I look at South Africans, most are completely unaware. It's like they're so stuck to their own TVs. And of course, our TVs are, our news is different to that right now, because there's a lot of politics and stuff that goes on here. And of course, that keeps us completely, our eyes focused on how terrible our country is and how the rand is falling and the corruption and everything. So the majority of South Africans are glued into that, right?
It's
And
like
just trying to
constant
survive.
feeding of,
Yes,
constant
absolutely.
brainwashing.
Absolutely.
Brainwashing.
But, we will do what we do and we shall continue. And at some point, we'll get it. We
Yeah,
really will,
we will. So we're going to talk about depression today. And one thing about depression, for those that have not seen or had a family member, friend, spouse, child, whoever, go through depression, there's a lot that is not known about it. And it's almost like just shove it aside, poo poo, who cares? It doesn't matter. Just stop thinking negative thoughts. Stop, get yourself lazy butt out of bed and do this and do. It's not like that at all. So we're going to discuss that today. And what's a little different is my techie husband, Joe, some of you might remember him from our videos, has set me up with a teleprompter. Now, this could be scary because, because I can't see.
Bless Joe's heart.
I can't see you guys when I'm reading it. So if it seems a little quirky, just pray for me. We're going to go with it. But I just don't want to get clinical terms messed up. And I can't keep all this in my head. I don't know. Maybe somebody can. I know Jessie can. That I know. And I give her props for that because she's amazing with that. So anyway, we're going to get started. Are we all set?
We all set, honey.
Okay.
The stage is yours.
Okay, feel free to jump in anytime because I can't see you, Chantelle.
No
All
problem.
right. And depression's not a funny thing, so I should stop laughing. So, okay.
Well, I think laughter is probably one of the wonderful things that does help depression. So we can laugh while we like.
It is, for sure. So depression is a mental illness that impacts practically every aspect of a person's life. And this I know from personal experience. This includes relationships, work, social life, sex life, mood, and regular daily activities. And there are several types of depression that the mental health community recognizes. The first type is what we'll call clinical depression. It's also known as treatment-resistant depression. Now, this is the depression type that I have personally. And it is a persistent depressed mood with loss of interest in activities. It causes severe impairment in daily life as it alters neural circuits in the brain. Symptoms include changes in sleep, appetite, energy level, concentration, daily behavior, and self-esteem. It can even
would that be sort of, I mean, I don't know if one can call it the most common type of depression. I don't know. Is there a type of depression that would be most common? Because what you're describing there would be, I think, for people living their lives from day to day that have depression, and they've just kind of gotten used to feeling low, feeling listless, feeling bored, loss of appetite, don't really feel like doing anything, right? So would that be what you're describing here?
Actually, it's not. It's
Okay.
more symptomatic of living with depression for a long time. It eventually turns into what they call treatment resistant, which means that the antidepressants or whatever they're using to treat it is not working. They have to keep changing things up, which is why I go on such a roller coaster all the time. So we'll see the different depressions and how it affects. Now, a lot of people do come across like that, but there's different triggers for different depressions. So I left
I'm
that.
just someone, Misty May is just saying, yeah, and I'm wondering if it's the same thing. My doctor calls it seasonal depression. Would that be the same?
No.
Not. Okay. All right.
We're gonna go through and you're gonna get so educated, you won't be able to handle yourself. But combined with this type of depression this is the key thing. Thoughts of suicide. This is called suicidal ideation. And so that's what's really different about this one, is that you will have definite thoughts of suicide, and that's what makes this type so dangerous. A clinical diagnosis is needed for treatment-resistant depression. Antidepressant medication, antidepressants, cognitive behavioral therapy, and psychotherapy are needed for this severe form of depression. Another very severe form of depression is with symptoms of psychoses. Now, this is something a lot of people don't realize. The person experiences psychosis symptoms such as delusions, hallucinations, seeing or hearing things that others do not see or hear. This form of depression definitely includes treatment by a psychiatrist, medication, and a therapist. Whenever someone is seeing or hearing things, it is always assumed that it's caused by schizophrenia. But this is not always the case. Depression can bring on these types of delusional thinking, as in schizophrenia. Now, I've never experienced that, thank God. But you have to take, if your child is seeing things, hearing things, it's extremely important to determine whether or not it's schizophrenia or depression, because the treatments are completely different. So
how would one then ascertain what the difference is? Because when you were describing the psychosis, it did seem like schizophrenia to me.
Right.
So how would one actually then determine the difference between psychosis, which is, as you're saying, a form of depression, and then schizophrenia? Because to me, if anyone who's hearing voices or having that type of, call it altered experience, to me, that would be schizophrenic. So how do you know what the difference is then?
Great question. They have intense psychological workups that they do through testing. It's done by a psychiatrist. It can be done by a therapist, but typically a psychiatrist is the one you want to turn to, because they really know the different types of mental health issues, as well as they know what medications will treat that. So you have to have a workup done. I didn't have my workup done until I was 42 years old. So, the diagnosis is the very important part of that. There's another one. This is probably the most common one you were saying, Chantelle, which is the most common one. Persistent depressive disorder. It's also called dysthymia. And this is a less severe symptomatic depression. It can last anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 years. It could be brought on by a specific trigger, say like the death of a spouse, God forbid, or the death of an animal, a beloved animal. And this causes the person to go into a PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder situation, which leads into clinical depression. So this is persistent depressive disorder, which is the most common one. Then we have prenatal depression, also known as postpartum depression. And there are actually two different kinds.
Postnatal depression, you mean? Did you say postnatal depression?
Yeah, there's prenatal, which is when you're carrying the child. Yep. And postpartum is after you give birth to the child. It is treatable, but it's extremely dangerous, and it needs immediate diagnoses and help from a psychiatrist and a therapist. And they even will, if it's that bad, it kind of weighs out that they'll put you on antidepressants throughout your pregnancy and after your pregnancy, because the mother can become suicidal. And for postpartum, we don't even want to talk about. The mother can, it's been known that the mother can kill the child, actually. And this is very serious if you're pregnant. So, like I say, they will look and see, does this person need to have antidepressants during their pregnancy? And do they need to stay on them after the pregnancy? And the spouse and family should be very included in all of this. So now we have seasonal affective disorder. This type of depression comes and goes with the seasons. Typically, it sets in the late fall and early winter when there is less time for sunshine to be out. It basically goes away in the spring and summer. One of the best treatments for this typical seasonal affective disorder is to have a sun lamp or get as much sun as possible when it's out during the day. Also, taking vitamin D supplements will help. So that's your seasonal.
In the Scandinavian countries, I know there's a big thing around that. I think they have to go out at a certain amount of time, at least 15 minutes of sun, because I know that because of the lack of sun in wintertime, that is,
right,
their suicide rate is pretty high.
They say morning sun, that's first morning sun, and to try as hard as you can. I mean, like, even, I know it sounds crazy, it's contrary to what we do, but don't wear sunglasses, don't wear sunblock. You want to absorb that vitamin D from the sun as much as possible. So,
and I think to add something there as well. What's very important, and I was actually listening to a documentary on that, talking about the sunblock and the sun, because that really, really is important. Sunblock is probably the worst thing for us, because what happens is, obviously, you put it on the skin, and with all the toxins and stuff, it's absorbed into the skin, and therefore creates, from what I'm hearing, cancer. It's very cancer causing, sunblock. And also, if you go into the sun and you get sun on your skin, like a nice glow, maybe half an hour, whatever, for 48 hours, do not wash your body with soap.
Really?
Because soap, yes.
Never heard.
Yes, I was fascinated when I heard that, because the soap washes away the vitamins that the sun has given you. So obviously the parts that need soap, yes, but the rest of the body should really just be rinsed with water and, washed with warm water. So you can have a shower and whatever, but just don't wash your body with soap. So that's very interesting. And of course,
very interesting.
I will use sunblock minimally, very, very minimally. In this African sun, I'm going to tell you, the sun is brutal here. So if I go to like going to the beach or something for an hour or more, then I will put some sunblock on. But otherwise, I use coconut oil on my skin, which is a SPF 15 anyway.
That's
and then
great.
I might put some in. Yeah. So, but sunblocks and me, no chance. We're not good friends at all. I've been thinking about that thing for a long, long, long time. And more research is showing us now that sunblock, in fact, is a great contributor to skin cancer.
You know, I believe that. I really do. But if you look at the skincare field, they go berserko if you say you're not wearing sunblock. Oh my gosh, how can you do that? You know, they just go absolutely bananas. And especially living in Florida, for the children, they put the sunblock everywhere in their scalp, all over the face, behind the ears, everywhere.
Absolutely. I mean, every beauty reel you watch, oh, put on my sunblock,
Yeah.
put on my sunblock,
Yeah.
because it's taking away the wrinkles.
Mm-hmm. Yep, but then you end up with skin cancer. So what do you do?
I
But
really think there are things that are a lot more natural than sunblock. God has given us this beautiful planet with a lot of plants and herbs and whatever, that I do believe, if we have to, like coconut oil for me already is an SPF 15. So if you want to do that, then put coconut oil on, look for stuff like that, But
absolutely. I got a sun lamp because I have, in addition to treatment resistant depression, it only worsens in the wintertime. So I got a sun lamp, and they say that you should sit under the sun lamp for 15 to 30 minutes. And you actually want to look at it as much as possible, like look at it, lower your eyes, look at it, lower your eyes, because you want that to get into your eyes, into your retina. And I know people think, well, won't it damage it? It's, again, everything in moderation, everything in moderation.
yeah,
So if you
absolutely.
have seasonal affective, get yourself a good sun lamp. Very, very helpful.
Or come to Africa.
And move to Florida.
Yeah.
So the next type of depression is bipolar depression. This is also known as manic depressive illness. This experience of depression episodes is brought on as the opposite side of a bipolar manic episode. So if you've ever known anybody with bipolar, they have the high highs and they have the low lows. So when they're on a high, they actually love it. I used to co-teach in a mental health class, and it's the National Alliance for Mentally Ill. So I used to co-teach, and several of them had bipolar. And you always knew it because when they came in, they were jazzed up. They were going, man, they were talking 20 million miles an hour. And, they don't eat, they don't sleep. Excuse me, they are on a total high. They have all this energy. They'll go into like spurts of shopping constantly, gambling constantly, having unsafe sex. They will do whatever. They'll drive like over 100 miles an hour. They just they feel invincible, godlike when they have a manic episode. Well, everything that goes up has got to come down. So when the person crashes from the mania, the number one thing that happens is they fall into a huge depression. And if if you can imagine how high they are on mania. Now, some very popular people in the movie industry, like Carrie Fisher, I'm trying to think, right? Of course, my mind goes blank. My husband's yelling names from the back. Robin Williams, yes. A lot of them have bipolar. And so when you go into these depressive episodes, they feel indifferent, sad, hopeless, combined with very low activity. This type of depressive disorder is needed to be watched very closely by a psychiatrist, because when they come down off of this, they can go suicidal very easily.
Yeah,
So,
it's that cold.
Right. And the drug they're typically on, because they have a deficiency in salt in their body, and it's called lithium. And lithium is a type of salt. So when they have this salt and the balance is there, they don't go into these highs and lows. But believe it or not, every single person that I've worked with that has had bipolar has loved their manic episodes so much that they don't even want to take their medication.
Absolutely.
They forget that they're going to crash and burn.
I was actually going to mention that because I've worked with quite a few people in my life with bipolar. And honestly, they'll come to me on such a high because they're off their meds and everyone is fighting with them about being off their meds. And it's true what you say. It's like that extreme high that because, I mean, there are people I've seen at the waterfront in Cape Town believing they're Jesus, preaching and telling everyone this. And, it's actually quite disturbing to watch.
Oh, it's very scary.
Yeah. I want to say it's not I don't find it scary. I just find it really disturbing because that person, to me, they're out of their mind, their bodies so much that they're so needing this high, yet there's the inability to bring in that balance. And as you say, the minute they're on their lithium, because that is the common drug for that, it might be fine for a while because now they're behaving and they're kept under control by whoever. But sooner rather than later, boy, there's an episode again. And I found people with bipolar that I've worked with, it's probably the most difficult symptom
it's really
to deal with. Yeah, most definitely.
There's actually 3 types of bipolar. There's the bipolar 1, and that has the manic episodes, and that also has the low depression. And if you don't have a manic episode, you cannot have bipolar 1. People have to understand that. They'll just group everything in and say, well, you have bipolar. Now, I have a form of bipolar, but it is not the manic type. I have what's called bipolar 2. And bipolar 2, again, has to do with the depression. It is only the depressive side of bipolar. So that's bipolar 2. And then the 3rd type, I also have some of that, is cyclothymia. And what cyclothymia does is it cycles all day long with your moods. So you have to go on what's called a mood stabilizer. So if you're, cycling, I'm happy, then I'm sad, then I'm, pensive, then I'm depressed, and that it just goes round and round like a merry-go-round. So since I've been on a mood stabilizer, that has been tremendous for me personally, because it's been able to stabilize my moods. So any questions on that?
I'm interested, when you say bipolar 2, that just takes you into the depression, the depression side of bipolar.
Correct.
What would that be? How would you describe that?
That would be what I suffer with, which is, it's a tough struggle. You're constantly fighting depression, and we're going to talk about ways to fight depression, but you're constantly fighting depression. And so it's kind of just like you always have in the background this depressive mood that you're working against. It's very difficult. But that is, I don't want to say that that's better, but cyclothymia is crazy because you're bouncing moods all over the place and nobody knows what to expect from you. So
the cyclothymia, are you saying like the one moment you're up, one moment you're down, and it can change within a second, literally?
Yeah. It typically goes anywhere from a half hour. You might have the mood, and then you might have it for 3 hours. I mean, sometimes I'm lucky and I'll have a great mood and a steady day for 3 to 5 hours. Then all of a sudden I'll switch. I can feel myself. I can feel my brain cycling. It's a very weird feeling. But I was going to say something. Now I forgot what I was going to say. So anyway, but that has to do with bipolar depression. And, just know that there's 3 different types of bipolar. Okay. And then we have the next one. My daughter actually gets this. She doesn't get it that bad, but a lot of women do. Premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And this type of depression affects women around the time of their period cycle. Typically, it triggers in the week before a woman gets her menses and leaves the week after. It can be very disruptive during the time frame that the woman is undergoing the depressive disorder during her cycle. So if you know women that they just can't function during their cycle, they're having very bad cramping, they're having depressive moods, they're crying, they're very emotional, the B word comes out, a lot of stuff like that. So that is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. Okay. Other types of depression can occur over a trauma episode, such as loss of a loved one or a beloved pet. It can be brought on by other trauma incidents, such as a car accident, a long-term physical, mental, or sexual abuse happening to you, hormonal issues, if your hormone or your thyroid is out of whack, or anything else that might trigger trauma to send a person into a depressive episode. Now, these are what I call situational episodes of depression. Obviously, if a loved one dies, if a child dies, God forbid, you are going to go into a depressive state. The difference is it is not clinical depression.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
situational depression. And that is much easier to treat. And you can do things like, we'll talk about it later, but go to a support group or whatever, and it can help a lot with that. So as with all mental health conditions, seeking medical help as soon as possible as these symptoms are shown or known can help the prognosis significantly. So we'll talk about helpful steps to get out of a depressive disorder. Woo, baby. One thing is to start what they call talk therapy. Now, some people really misunderstand this and think it's, so what, you're going to go and talk about your problems. But it's very important to talk about those issues and get those trauma patterns and things you've, experienced that are very hard in your life, difficult to manage, to talk that out with somebody. And especially a third person that doesn't really know you or know your family. It's just very, very important to start talk therapy. And you will be taught skills in many ways to explore and heal your emotional wounds and trauma. Also, if medication is needed, then you have to see a psychiatrist. The difference is that therapists cannot prescribe medication and psychiatrists can. Psychiatrists don't do therapy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. A lot of people mess that up and think their therapist can prescribe for them. The next thing is to get moving. Even small amounts of aerobic exercise like walking, jogging, taking a Zumba class, or such can reduce the unwelcome effects of depression. Unfortunately, when depression hits, you feel so low and fatigued and unmotivated that you may rather to spend the day in bed than exercise. So the solution is to gradually mobilize our nervous system with general or slow exercise, walking, etc., and work our way up to 4 to 5 times a week of exercise for more than 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's very important, to get into the sun, to move, go for a walk, stretch your body. Mm-hmm. If you can stretch your body, that's probably one of the best things. I mean, if you can just do this and that, or move your neck and just get movement in your body, that is absolutely amazing. And I want to add something to that. Cold shower. To get into a cold shower.
Talk about that, Shanti.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead. You talk about it.
Yeah, a cold shower. When we're looking at things like doing things naturally, laughing, watching something funny on TV or a cute cat videos or whatever it might be, you know. I mean, there are many little things we can do. The thing is, most people when they're in that state don't really want to do that. So it takes a lot of disciplining to do that. So, you know, it's so important that if we can catch ourselves, so I know some people feel it coming on, others it might just hit them at a time wherever, but really for those people, I mean, I know one of my clients, he was in a really bad place and he just forced himself to put his head under a tap of cold water. Mm-hmm. And the experience he had after that was life-changing for him. Mm-hmm. Everything changed within half an hour for him when he shifted that energy, because when he was able to get out of that dark place and align himself with a much higher frequency or vibration, that's when things changed for him. Mm-hmm. So it really is, you know, I'm a great believer in natural. So as you say, get your body moving, stretch, walk, swim, take that cold shower. And another thing that I always advocate, and I do regularly, take a bowl that is about the size of a salad bowl.
Oh yeah.
And put some water in it and put it in the freezer. Mm-hmm. And in the morning, when you wake up, just add cold water to that, leave it for 10, 15 minutes, whatever. Mm-hmm. Let the water melt, get it cold, and then you dunk your face in that cold water.
Yes.
Wow. They're calling cold showers the new cocaine, right? I saw something like cold showers are the new cocaine. Mm-hmm. And now you want a dopamine hit, that's how you get that on a natural way, because everything just fires up. And then to go walking. I mean, yoga for me is amazing. Yoga has been, I always say yoga really saved my life, because it was just that time with me, myself, God, my body, my being, and just allowing and breathing. Wow, guys, breathing. And also, you know, that's the cold shower thing, because when you get into that cold shower, what's the first?
You're going to gasp for air.
Yeah, you start breathing. And the minute you start breathing, that's when everything starts moving and, you know, everything starts getting fired up. So, yeah, I'm a great believer in that sort of stuff. I always advocate that.
What they call that is temperature treatment. And actually, the alternate to the cold water is hot. Believe it or not, the body temperature stimulates the part of the brain that provides serotonin, which is a mood-enhancing product of the brain. And hot baths, soaking in a hot tub, is the opposite. You know, it does the same thing as the cold. And for some people, it even helps more. It's a huge stress reliever. There's also weighted blankets, which they have. They're like this thick, and they're weighted down in a heavy blanket. When I'm depressed, I feel very vulnerable. I feel, for lack of a better word, naked. I just feel like I just want to be covered up. I just want, you know, something warm. And I will often use a heating pad. I've had a heavy blanket at times. So, and if you can't get a heavy blanket, use a warm blanket, have a hot beverage. So the cold is huge, but so is the warmth. The warmth is important also. So my showers consist of, most of it, half of it is hot, hot, hot. And the end part of it is cold, 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 cold. So,
yeah.
You know, it can really change your mood.
Absolutely. It's really good. And I mean, they're doing also something they call cryotherapy. I've seen quite a bit. I think it's called cryotherapy. It's where people are going and they have these tubs of frozen water, and you actually sit in this frozen water or take a frozen bath, right? Or you have a bath with ice cubes or something in. I've not tried that, but I intend to summer. I'll do it in summer.
They even have chambers where you go in and it's freezing cold and you're just locked in that chamber for however long you're allowed to stay in it. I don't know how long that you could survive it, but they have chambers that you go in and you're frozen, literally. You just freeze, and then they have to bring you out and put, warm towels on you and everything and bring your temperature down. But it does work. It really does. Really, really works.
Definitely. I would. And, these are things that we can do for ourselves. I mean, I'm a great believer in try as much as what you can to get your own serotonin going, get your, doing things. And, I always talk about a dopamine hit, because really what we tend to do as well is look outside of ourselves for that high, which is a cigarette or I don't know, whatever gives you that high. But I always say, it's like doing things like making a list of 5 things to do today, whether it's tidying your kitchen drawer or whatever it is. And as you finish off that list and do it, things that are doable, if you're really struggling with this, that's what I'm saying. Like if you're struggling to get a routine, if you're really battling to get out of depression, these are really, really good tiny baby steps to use. Make a list of 5 things to do today. And what I do, I have a highlight, and as I finish the things, I highlight. I mean, my diaries are full of highlights. For me, that's amazing, because then it's boom, it's done. And at the end of the day, and every time you do something, it's a little dopamine hit. It's a little dopamine hit. So every time you achieve something, no matter how small, it's a little dopamine hit. Yeah. You go to bed at night. For me, what is really good is when at night, I always do a reset. I wash my dishes. My floor needs sweeping. I tidy my desk. I make sure, my room's tidy, my bathroom's clean. So when I wake up in the morning, my house is clean. So for me, that's important. It's like, it gives me a really good feeling, because it makes such a difference whether I wake up in the morning to clean dishes or dirty dishes. And even if it's a few cups, right? It's still such a good feeling walking into my place, and it's really for me. So the little things like that make such a difference. So just to keep some kind of a routine, I say routine is very important. Even if you set your alarm at a certain time, get up, have a shower then. Say, well, I'm getting up at 6 a.m. The first thing I'm going to do is have a shower. See how that feels. We start things like this. And I've worked with people over the years, guiding them through these processes. And what I found is that the bite-sized chunks, doing things that are doable for you. Some people are terrified to go into their bank account. It's insane how much fear money gives people. Yeah. And I'm going, what are you scared of? No, I've got to transfer my rent, for example. I'm going, well, do you have it in your account? Yes, I do. So what is the fear? That I'm not going to have it next month or whatever. And that fear literally freezes people up. And I'll go, okay, come, I'll do it with you. I'm here. Just do it. And then.
That's very true. And that has to do with when you're depressed. There's a school of thought that says your thoughts and emotion are just thoughts and emotions. So when you're during a low mood, our thought processes can trigger depression to get worse, like you say, with the bank account, and it freezes you up. And you need to realize that you're just think of the thoughts and emotions as fleeting clouds just passing through, because when we start to ruminate and get ourselves in a funk over, like you said, the bank account or going to the bank, it brings the depressive mode into almost an obsession mode. And you keep ruminating over and over again. And that is a typical thing that happens in a trauma, is you keep reliving the process. So you want to think of your emotions as just, they're a cloud here and it's slowly going away. So that helps with depression. And you want to befriend your feelings. You want to use mindfulness skills, such as living in the moment. That means if you're washing your hair, you're noticing the scent of the shampoo, you're noticing how your scalp feels, you're noticing the bubbles, whatever it is. And you can feel that, that's a mindfulness thing. You're thinking exactly through it, and that helps you from not thinking about the horrible thing.
And I want to say as well, things like just if you go outside, and even if you have a small patio with a little plant on it or something, just go outside, change the space. For me, nature is incredible. Just to go outside. My mother has the most beautiful green fingers. She creates the most beautiful gardens wherever she goes. So I love, and I mean, her plants, you must see how they love her. It's actually insane. They love it. And she sprays water for the little sugar birds. And they all come and they'll drink from the spray. And I'm like, how did that happen? How did you just do that? That's supposed to be me. And they won't do that with me, but with you, they do. It's to go there and to appreciate a flower, to appreciate the little bee buzzing on the flower, to appreciate just the tree. Just to take your mind off that which is consuming you, and just to go general, to the little things that it doesn't cost anything. It really is just, wow, thank you, God, for that beautiful flower. Thank you, God, for the dove.
Absolutely.
I love my doves, they're forever in here, and I'm already befriended a whole lot more since I've moved in. They walk into my house. They sit on my cat's bowls. They eat their food. They're cheeky as hell. It's amazing. I love it. And my cats just sit there watching. They know I don't allow it.
One of them doesn't get snatched away. Oh my!
You don't eat your family.
That's right. So speaking of eating, the next thing is your gut is considered your second brain. And its health is directly connected to a person's mood. So you want to eat as healthy a diet as possible with your doctor's consent. And another thing is to add probiotics, fermented food to help clean the gut, and drink tons of water during the day.
Yeah. And that's interesting. I don't know if you saw Kelly's question there. Does your intestine produce serotonin?
That's a great question.
And she said, I had some of mine removed, and now it seems like I don't produce it anymore. I've been trying 5-HTP and GABA to try and help. So I'm not sure if you actually have any comment on that.
I know that serotonin and dopamine are specific to the brain. I don't believe that they are formed in the gut. But I do believe that if we have bad gut health, it will, if you're eating junk food all day, if you're drinking Coke and doing all that stuff, that's going to make you 100 times worse with your depressive episodes. So
absolutely.
I'll have to look into that. But to my knowledge and what I've always read and researched is that serotonin and dopamine are made in the brain.
And absolutely, very, very interesting. And as you say, your diet is so important. Food is your medicine, so to eat a healthy diet during this time, and nutritious food, and to go, or whatever you eat, if you have a doctor or a nutritionist or something, dietitian, who can help you with that, I think it's quite amazing, because food makes such a big difference. I mean, when I am not eating well, and rest assured there are times, Dominic, my late partner, was a chef, and I want to tell you, he took care of my dietary needs so well, and I'm not good at that, but I'm getting better.
I also noticed,
yes, but I have noticed, because I don't like to eat a lot. That's the thing. So I will rather nibble, and I like have fruit and stuff, but it's like I need other stuff as well. And with the hours I work, especially, it's very difficult for me to say, okay, at 6 o'clock I'm cooking. And I know, and I'm saying this because I know there's a lot of people out there that have a similar thing,
I do. I nibble all day long. But they actually
Yeah.
say that small meals are good for you, Shanti. So
No, it is better, but I'm not, you know, and I like fresh as well, and especially in summer. So you're gonna catch me eating a lot of fruit and nuts and stuff. But you know, other times I don't. So I need to, you know, and I've realized as well, I've noticed the difference in my mood or just my general well-being when I'm eating well and when I'm like taking care of what I'm eating as opposed to just grabbing something on the run. And that's not good.
Right.
And it's also just the I think eating is such an important thing because it's so important to sit down and actually enjoy your meal. Even if you're just having a sandwich, to actually sit down, spend that 3 minutes or 5 minutes with yourself, enjoying your food. This is something I've noticed that we do not do much of. Food is so important. And you know, it's
Either
such a
that
good
or we talk over the meal and we don't notice we've even eaten.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
the next step that you can do is engage with the world. And this is really hard to do when you're feeling depressed and you don't want to leave the bed or the house. Most depressive people try to isolate and, you know, they won't answer phone calls. They won't want to talk. They won't answer text messages back. But it's really important when you're depressed to reach out. So try to make meaningful connections and use this as an antidote against isolation or hiding out during a depressive episode. Get out and about, go on a coffee date, join a support group, take up a hobby. All these things will distract you with activity. And you had talked about some of these things. There's things like adult coloring books, reading, journaling, getting outside for a long walk in nature, take your shoes off, feel the grass, talk with a good friend on the phone. Now, this is a great one. This is a great one, and I use it all the time. Play music and sing at the top of your lungs.
Dance, yeah. Sing your ass off. It's time to party, yeah?
Yeah, it's like, do
Turn
not
on that
listen,
yeah.
but I do this. I do this. My husband knows we close the doors. And you said this one, watch silly animals videos on YouTube. This is my favorite. Play with a toddler or 3-year-old granddaughter. See the world through their eyes. Snuggle an animal. Do a random act of kindness for a person. You said this one also, Shanti. Clean a small section of your home for satisfaction and gratification. Pray, meditate. Getting hugs builds serotonin. So my husband and I slow dance. And we hug each other and slow dance, and that is very good. What else? Get plenty of sunshine, and it's important, it's urgently important that you completely avoid drugs and alcohol, all recreational drugs when you're depressed. Alcohol will bring you right down the rabbit hole. It's really bad.
Oh, yeah. I've never understood people who drink when they're on antidepressants. And it's insane how many people do, right?
Well, because they self-medicate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I would have...
Go on. I'm sorry.
No.
I was just going to say that it can make you more suicidal if you're drinking alcohol and taking antidepressants. You've got two antidepressant things taking you down in your depression. And it's just like, well, who gives, you know, an SH? Who cares? Why should I stay alive? And, you know, so you don't want to bring those things into your depressive state. It's really important.
Yeah, I fully agree with it.
Yeah. So the next thing,
your body's your vehicle. Make sure that you're supporting your body in a healthy way as well.
Absolutely.
Water, as you say, is so important. 2 to 3 liters a day makes such a difference. We don't realize how important these little things are. It doesn't, you know, it for a lot of people that doesn't make sense that drinking water will bring me out of depression.
Right.
Well, try it for a week and see, and then we'll talk again. Right.
Right. Go off the alcohol and see. Yeah. That too.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we're winding it up. So create a circle of support. This can include family, friends, your therapist, your psychiatrist. This group is very important, and it's who you turn to when you're triggered into a depressive episode, especially if you're feeling suicidal. Reach out to those who are good listeners and have empathy skills, not those that just try to dismiss or fix you. Have a plan if you're feeling suicidal and go immediately to the local emergency room if you're feeling at risk. Another helpful thing is to have a family member or someone you trust monitor your mental health medicine. Because when we're depressed, we can forget to take it. We don't want to take it. And this only makes the situation worse. So if you have those days when you feel like you just can't get out of your own bed, stay there and try to do as many bed-bound distraction activities, but take your meds. That's so huge. So
But
huge.
I want to say, and Habiba Butterfly, I fully agreed. It was actually something I wanted to bring up because Habiba is saying certain antidepressants create alcoholic craving. My son was given them in rehab and fell soon afterwards. Sorry, I'm just a couple of typo. Yeah, I'm just trying to see. I then wrote to and did a professional asking this, but okay. Basically, in a nutshell, she's saying, and I agree with you to a point, and I do agree, because what I've noticed as well, if you go to a lot of the AA meetings or the NA meetings, alcoholic and narcotics and stuff like that, I have noticed that a lot of these people. I mean, my nephew was battling with drugs at one stage, so I actually went and I sat in with him in a few meetings. I was every 15 minutes the meeting stopped for a smoke break. I kid you not.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And everyone in this meeting was on some heavy meds. So literally in a lot of cases, what I've seen and I know is one addiction is transferred onto another. So now that they've stopped doing illegal drugs, they're now doing legal drugs. And that's what the conversations, and I think it's so unhealthy from what I saw. And I don't say everyone's like that, but the majority of the conversations that I sat in on there, it was extremely negative. There was no positive stuff that was being spoken about. It was always about this and that happened and dredging up this dreadful battle that all these people are having in their lives. I'm going, small wonder people aren't healing from this.
Exactly.
You have to focus on something. You set goals, you work towards them, you surround yourself, or you start the process of surrounding yourself with people that can be supportive. You move in a direction that is healthy, and you actually stay away from negative Nancy's. And you cannot start. There is so much I don't agree with around that, I have to tell you. And to every day say, I'm Chantelle and I'm an addict. Rubbish.
No, I agree with you. My mother was an alcoholic. So my brother and I went to many of her AA meetings. And you're absolute, it's like who can outdo who with their story of how abusive they were, or how abused they were, or what they did. They crashed the car, they did this, they did that. It really is a downer. It's such a downer. And hello, my name is Alice and I'm an alcoholic. That's how you start out. Or I'm an addict, or I'm a dual addict.
So bad. People have had addictions because they're covering something up. It's a pain, it's a trauma, it's something that hasn't been healed. It's a wound that hasn't been healed. So anyone with addictions, now these addictions obviously have a great spin-off into a whole lot of mental labels as well. We know that. right? Depression, bipolar, all sorts of things. I'm not going to go into all that now. But addictions, if we can find the root of what your addiction is, right? Whether it's cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, pornography, work, money, sweets, whatever it is. If you can understand, I mean, I will always own up to the fact that I'm a sweet addict, and I still am. just less of one. But also, yeah, and for me, I've understood that as a child, we were always rewarded with candy or sweets, as we call them here. So every time I wanted to reward myself, I did it with candy or something that was decadent. And in that way, of course, really having that short-term dopamine hit, because half an hour later, I'd be feeling so disgusting. I don't even want to look at myself anymore type thing. And, when we can start understanding what our addictions are and what really our own subconscious creation of them are, because really it all comes back to us. That is truly what it comes back to. No matter who's contributed what to your life to bring you to this point, you are the product of that. And it's up to you as an individual and as a person to do your own personal healing, which is why it's so important then that we can find loving people that can support us, take us through the process of walking ourselves back to good health, whatever that might be for you. It's a loving process. I believe love is the core. When you love yourself enough to face your shadow or your addictions or your pain,
it's really important.
You will then bring in the light, and the light is the love that heals. That is the healing light.
Absolutely. It's also a well-known fact that with alcoholics, they have a sugar addiction, and there's tons of sugar in alcohol. And so I'm telling you, when my mother quit alcohol, she would eat boxes of chocolate. I mean, she would just devour the sugar,
And people giving up smoking as well. It's that thing. And I remember, why do people generally pick up weight after they've stopped smoking, right? Because they're needing, and also the sweet stuff. I find that very interesting. Or often carbohydrates, starch. Like I found that with people.
To sugar.
Yes, the breads and pastries and stuff like that. That's actually very interesting. But honestly, what I do know is that when we take the time just to work out a menu for ourselves and to stick to that try it for a week or two, try it for 2 weeks, right? And see if that, in fact, I'm going to say 3 weeks, because it takes 3 weeks to tread out a new pathway in the brain.
That's right.
So, if anyone is there battling with that and your diet is not good, then I'm going to say, well, take the time and work out a menu for yourself, something that works. Go and buy fresh fruit and veggies and stuff. Commit to doing 15 minutes of exercise in the morning or in the evening or during the day. Don't be rigid with yourself. Be flexible with yourself.
That's a good word.
Be very flexible with yourself, because a lot of people tend to put themselves on this straight, narrow, rigid path, and especially if they're coming out of some kind of a trauma or an addiction or something, right? And then beat themselves up tenfold if they fall off. I'm going, no, it's fine. Like a child learning how to walk. You're not going to hit the child when it falls and scrapes its knee, right? You're going to pick it up, hold its hand. So do that, be flexible. If you fall off the bus today, fine, get back on tomorrow.
I'm curious what you feel about the carnivore diet.
What about it?
What do you feel about it? I'm curious your take on the carnivore diet.
Well, I come from an energetic perspective, right? So I try not to judge my personal feelings on that. Although I am an animal whisperer, I cannot eat something that I speak to. It's as simple as that. I know animals have souls. I know they have emotions. I know the fears they feel when they are hunted or to be slaughtered. I also understand that for me, if you look at the slaughterhouse industry, it's a massive blood sacrifice each and every day. And if we can't see that that is contributing to the pain and the suffering on the planet, then we need to think again. So I'm saying, if you, it's an energetic thing for me rather than, oh no, you eating animals, whatever. I don't look at it like that. I don't do it because for me, I choose not to take the life of another being so that I can eat, especially if I've got other food available to me. That's my personal choice, right?
I know so many that are going on the carnivore diet now. It's just, it's the newest rage. It's all the rage right now. At least here in the States, they're doing a lot of it. And it cracks me up because, like, they'll drive through McDonald's and they can't have the bun or the fries, you know, any of that stuff. So they'll just have a McDonald's hamburger patty.
That's not even, I mean,
food. It's not even meat.
Anyone think McDonald's is a loving meal? And I'm looking at profit here. How can people who can't afford good food do this? Okay, I'm going to say this very simply because this is the world as it currently is our creation, and we cannot get away from that. So I'm going to say this is the time that we then start growing little things that we can. Put a tomato bush in your kitchen window and grow some cherry tomatoes. I'm just saying stuff like that. And if every person did that, you would be growing your own food and you'd be able to, and actually to grow your own food or to have someone, a little place where you can grow something. I get that not everyone is capable of doing that, but there are thousands of people who can do that and they are not doing it. So minimalistic, go for fresh fruit, vegetable. That for me, and that which has been in the sun. When you're looking at the Eastern teachings, we look at that as sattvic, right? It's food that's absorbed the sun. So it's grown in soil, not hydroponics, and it's in the sun. So it's absorbed all the nutrients. It's got all the electromagnetic sparkles from the sun. And you're absorbing that, which means that the food is alive. It gives you life. It gives you energy. And then you get rajasic food, which is more like your butters, so it's like your, no, sorry, not your dairy products. It's going to be more like your nuts and your fruit that's grown underground, like the root vegetables and stuff like that. So it hasn't had the sun, but it has had the earthly nutrition. And then, of course, you get your tamasic food, which is dead food. Anything over 7 hours is considered, that's been standing for 7 hours, is considered dead food. Where I was in India, every single day, the food is delivered fresh. We were eating fresh fruit every single day. So that's
so good.
Yeah, so that's considered tamasic. Meat is dead food. It's a dead animal. It drains your energy. Anything that is dead drains your energy. Think about how you feel after you've had a 500-gram steak, right? How does your belly and your digestive system feel after that?
I know how mine does.
You know, exactly. So what I'm saying is you've got to observe your body. Anyone who thinks just eating meat, I don't know. I cannot see that is a good thing. And really, I think we've actually become addicted to it over time. I think that we always had a choice as to whether we eat it or not. We made the choice. Animals were always sent here to be our companions, or we could eat them. And that's why I say there's just a lot of things for me energetically that many human beings are ignorant of. And we want the world to end. We want things to change, yet we're not looking at some of the very, very core necessary things that we need to look at as individuals and understand how are we contributing to that energy in the world.
I typically am not a meat eater. My husband, I know you don't listen, Shanti. My husband was on the carnivore diet for a few months, but I just can't do it. I personally can't do it. So, I would rather have a yogurt or something else, just a salad,
Yeah.
And it would gross me out when he cooks meat in the house. I can't stand it, but I don't want to deprive him of what he thinks is right for him, and good for him. That's what he feels. You got to pick.
Well, I think, everyone is entitled to do, what they feel is right for them. And I think life will teach people what they need to know, about stuff like that. And I just think for me, it's about being conscious that animal gave its life for you. So the first thing, again, when it concerns energy, thank the animal. Most of us don't even begin to do that. That's what releases the animal's soul, actually. It's when we thank it and we appreciate it. And not just say, oh, thank you for the food we're eating as your grace. No. You thank that animal. You thank that animal. And you mean it. You mean it, because that's going to make a difference. So
if I could, I don't normally do this or ask you this, but can I end with a prayer?
Yeah, you can.
What time are we at? We good?
We're over time.
Okay,
yeah.
So I'll make it a quick one. So I just want to thank you, Lord, for having this opportunity to share this information. I want to appreciate every single person who has listened to it, who has participated in the chat. I want to thank you for Chantelle for giving this platform for this message to get out, that people may be educated further into things of mental illness, so that they are not just pointing a finger or making a judgment call if they don't understand a human being, that they are understanding why that human being is projecting in the way that they are. Lord, I bless each and every person that's on this podcast today. Lord, I just thank you for their life. I pray that you will bring them to a new level of illumination, Lord. And I thank you for this opportunity in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Okay, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our show today. And I want to just thank every one of you for participating. I really enjoy the comments in the chat. And as you know, if anyone want to chat to Alice or whatever, and I'm also available if you guys want to talk to me at all. I work with these situations a lot. So God bless you all. Take care of yourselves. And I'll see you guys later at 6:30, which is just over an hour from now, with Mr. Tom Outhouse. I know all the ladies. I know all the ladies like Tom in the chat. Tonight, ladies. Wonderful. Okay, we'll see you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.